This room is filthy and I can't be bothered. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Intrawebs. My name is Kale. I'm a filmmaker and a surfer, and today I'm going to talk about 7 of the most common beginner surfing mistakes that are made and how to fix them. I'm dressed up like Where's Wally? I don't know why. Let's go. If you're new here, my name is Kale. I'm a filmmaker and a free surfer, and here you'll find all sorts of epic surf content like tutorials to help you surf better, important reviews, and more. So subscribe down below and join me on Instagram at KalesBroccoli. Mistake number 1, let's have a look at it. It's popping up too quickly. I bet you weren't expecting that. Contrary to popular belief, and contrary to how some of the best surfers in the world, like Kelly Slater here, make it look, a surfer's pop-up shouldn't be too rushed. I find that when beginners try to rush their pop-up, it actually throws them off balance and they're more likely to fall during the process. This is most likely due to the fact that a surfer rushing to their feet ends up being too tall, and with the raised center of gravity, they just aren't stable enough to stay on the board. A much better strategy is to take a tiny moment, a slight pause, in the prone position before popping up, which acts as a bit of a calming anchor to the surfer as they get to their feet. Remember, the pop-up is not a burpee. It's not going to be the same as popping up on land because you're on a moving, unstable surface. Now, as my friend Nick puts it,
that they get really flustered and try and do everything very, very quickly. So they're going to disorientate themselves and upset their equilibrium on their surfboard. I think you want to be getting up slower and lower. Instead of like a pop-up or a jump up, I think of like, how can you slide up to your feet?
Here's why you're exhausted after 20 minutes of surfing. It's mistake number 2, and it's not resting effectively in between waves. Now stop. It sounds really simple, but it makes a huge difference, trust me. A surfer will spend most of their session with an activated back, a strong banana shape from the lower back to the middle and upper back. This position isn't quite natural or instinctive, and thus it takes a long time to build up the necessary musculature for this to be a sustainable way to hold your body. Simply by learning how to sit up on your board and relax your back muscles in between waves is an albeit easy skill, but not one used by many beginners for fear of being out of position on a set or worrying about toppling over. A simple hack for this is to sit more toward the back of your board, then grab onto the front rails to stabilize the board and round out the back to give the muscles a break. You can practice transitioning from this position to paddling in order to help you be ready for when a wave does come. Simply cork the board out of the water by leaning forward and pressing your chest against it. Use this momentum to begin paddling for the wave. It's mistake number 3, it's positioning. Now I sound like a broken record, I see it every day though. You've got to get your positioning right. I've said before that learning how to read waves is like learning a new language, and it's true. There's a reason why people already into water sports like boogie boarding or surf lifesaving adapt and adjust so quickly to riding a surfboard. It's because they know how to read waves, which means they catch a lot and progress faster. I've got a full video on this here on the channel, but basically what you're looking for as you transition away from whitewater waves to unbroken green waves are different shades in colour to indicate a peak and a shoulder in the swell. The more dramatic the changes in texture, generally the slower the wave will be. It should have less face, which means the gradient is low and allows plenty of time to sit in the pocket. Besides learning it intellectually, you can work on this in really only one way, and that's to spend as much time in the water as possible. I don't just mean on a surfboard either. I mean spend time in the water swimming, body surfing, going for a paddle even when it's flat. Learn the language of Huey the ocean god and become the sea Viking you were born to be. Mistakes number 4 and 5 both have to do with paddling. We're going to bundle them together. Number 4 is your paddling technique is not good enough. And number 5 is you're not paddling enough to catch waves before popping up. Let's start with the first one, paddling technique. This is probably the most underappreciated aspect of surfing ever. Not enough coaches talk about it and not enough beginners work on it. You have to be able to paddle as fast as the waves you're trying to catch before you can expect to feel in control out in the ocean. Catching waves is all about giving yourself and the board enough momentum to roll into the swell and stand up before the lip crashes on top of you. If you can't paddle well, this is going to be very difficult. Additionally, most of your session will be spent negotiating the ocean between waves. Standing up is only 5% of the experience, which means in order to position correctly, which we now know is super important, paddling is essential. Paddling is going to be easier on a bigger board with more volume, which I'm presuming is what you're riding as a beginner at the moment anyway. But it also comes down to the strength of the back and the lats. Work on your paddling by focusing on activating the middle back muscle so your body becomes a banana. The infamous activated banana. As soon as you start paddling from here and you develop the strength to be able to do it the whole session, that's when you'll feel a huge boost in confidence in catching waves. Now, moving on to mistake number 5, not paddling enough before popping up. This mistake generally comes out of fatigue or fear, the surfer wanting to be up as early as possible to avoid any steep pockets in the wave, but generally it results in a poor line into the wave and a more challenging drop to deal with. As soon as you feel like you're moving back up the wave as you're popping up, it's a sign you're not paddling enough or you're paddling too slow. Put in some extra strokes to the point you feel yourself lifted and gliding along the wave before standing up. It's about this time that I'm noticing that you're feeling incredibly generous, incredibly supportive. It's so understandable. If you want to support me, simply head to kalebrock.com, check out my books, you can watch my movies, or you can just learn a little bit more about what I do. Mistake number 6, looking down all the time. Why so glum? When I do paddle outs with people, I find myself yelling, kindly, look up, to at least half of them. One of the most important rules in surfing is this: where you look is where you go. So if you want to cut across the wave faster and get away from the whitewater, which you do, then start looking up and down the line. This will naturally draw your body weight to the correct point in order to send you in the direction of your gaze. So many people are trying to focus on foot placement and weight distribution, but really guys, it's all in the eyes. Unless you're doing air reverses or big finners, there's no point really even talking about the weight you're directing through your feet. Focus on where the eyes are, and lo and behold, you'll get there. I actually find that this looking up business is more effective if initiated during the paddle into the wave. By looking up as you catch it, you're making a much more informed decision about which line you're going to take on that given ride. Whether it's you need to pop up and get straight to the top to build some speed, or you can afford to slow down and go straight to the bottom. It's the final mistake. Here it is, number 7, standing up too straight. Ever gotten into the beach to hubby or wifey and looked at the pics and been absolutely shocked at what you see? A straight-legged, straight-armed robot riding across the wave? Well, we've all been there. The important thing to take away from that, though, is how you think you're moving on the wave is often quite different to the way you are actually moving on the wave. By lowering our center of gravity when we surf, we allow ourselves not only a more stable base to work from, but also the opportunity to use an extension back up the wave as well. By oscillating between compression and extension, we can build up speed on the wave and start to think about performing maneuvers. If you're finding you're too straight standing up, think about lowering your belly button to your knees. You'll have to bend slightly and you'll have to fold slightly as well. This is the perfect position to do most of our surfing from, as it's a coiled spring of pent-up energy ready to be released on an unsuspecting lip. We made it. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what else you want me to focus on. What are you struggling with in the surf? Now, chances are I've covered a lot of the mistakes I've talked about today in more detail in previous videos, so make sure you check them out up here or up here. They'll be somewhere there. Make sure you click on them or scroll through my playlists. My name is Kale Brock. I'm a surfer and a filmmaker, and I will see you again here on YouTube or over on Instagram at Kale's Broccoli. Thanks for tuning in.